This is my youngest sister, Lydia. She's loud, full of energy, and like the rest of my family, a talker. But unlike the rest of my family, she interrupts people, never seems to be listening. She acts like a baby even though she's 11 years old. And a few years ago, when this picture was taken, it took me 3 hours to curl her hair because I just couldn't get her to sit still and focus. I had to keep making deals with her that if she just let me curl her hair for 20 minutes, I'd let her go watch TV or play with her toys for a while. Some might say that this is because she's just a kid. It's expected of her, right? Well, that's what my family thought too, until she was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or as most know it, ADHD. I chose this topic not just to inform you, but to inform myself too, because for how common it is, not many people know what it is exactly. So today, I'd like to help you understand it just a little bit better. In order to do so, we'll look at what it is and the misconceptions, the history of it, and the treatments that are available for it. This is a dilemma in our country, one that I'm here to take a closer look at with all of you. Now, I'd like to start by asking, what is ADHD? When you hear it, you probably also think of ADD, but most people don't know the difference. Simply, it's that little letter H, hyperactivity. Both are a mental disorder that affects a child's behavior and focus. ADHD is different in ADD in the way that these children's brains move so quickly that they can't process everything. So these children often act without thinking. They also have an abundance of energy that they never seem to be able to fully run out. Now, this may seem like it would have a simple answer, but the cause of ADHD is still unknown. And while it's most commonly diagnosed in children, according to the New York Times, 2 to 5% of adults are diagnosed with ADHD. And the number of diagnoses is rapidly increasing in the United States. Despite all this, there's still those who don't believe that ADHD is an actual disorder. And they say it's just children who don't know how to behave because of poor parenting. And the increase in diagnoses, they explain as too broad of criteria in order to diagnose. This can lead to them not properly treating their children, which we'll touch on more soon, because before we can look at the treatments, we should first take a look at the origin of ADHD. According to Leading Issues Timelines, it all started in 1902, when Sir George noticed that some of the mentally ill children were actually quite intelligent. They just couldn't control their behavior like most other children could. Then, in 1936, the FDA approved a Benzedrine, the first medication used to ease some of these symptoms. This was the main form of treatment until 1955, when the FDA approved of Ritalin, a medication still used today as a treatment. But it wasn't until 1968 that the American Psychiatric Association actually recognized this as a mental disorder, first naming it hyperkinetic disorder. 12 years later, it was renamed ADD, with 2 types, either with or without hyperactivity. And finally, in 1987, it was given its own name, ADHD. This was when we really started to understand this disorder. And in 1999, we made a huge breakthrough with a study on treatment for ADHD. But before we get more into that, I'd like to take a look at some of the treatments that are currently available for ADHD. The immediate choice for most, including my family, are medications, the most popular being Adderall and Ritalin. Medications help with a child's attention and academic performance. But some parents don't feel that children need these medications. They think that behavior therapy is a better option, whether it's because they don't believe ADHD is an actual disorder or they don't feel comfortable giving their young children such medications, which is perfectly understandable. But behavior therapy only improves the social skills. It doesn't help with any of the other symptoms of ADHD. Because as you can see here, it is a disorder of the brain when you compare a healthy brain to a brain with ADHD. Now, let's go back to that study I mentioned before. This study concluded that the best form of treatment is actually a combination of the two. According to the New York Times, there was a study that showed that if you were to combine these two, you would first want to start with the behavior therapy and then follow that with the medication. This can not only lead to better results, but possibly a lower dose of medication than the usual dosage. And sometimes your child doesn't even need medication after the behavior therapy. Like with my sister, she's currently taking medication and has never received any form of behavior therapy. So while we've seen an improvement in her schoolwork, we still face a lot of problems with her behavior. And if I'm honest, even after her diagnosis, my dad was skeptical. He felt that he could fix this by being stricter with her. But according to the Washington Post, kids with ADHD whose parents are overcritical don't lose the symptoms of ADHD as they mature into their teen years, like most others do. Instead, it is encouraged to use positive reinforcement to show them what proper behavior is. ADHD is a disorder that requires treatment beyond your parenting. ADHD is bigger than most people think, and hopefully today I've helped you understand it better as we looked at what it is and the misconceptions, the history of it, and the treatments that are open to you to help with it. I hope today was a learning experience for most of you. I know that I myself learned a lot just writing this speech, and I'm now able to understand my sister better. It's important that we understand that these kids, including my little sister, cannot help the way that they behave, especially when they go untreated. ADHD is not just an excuse for poor behavior. It is real, and it can be helped. And it has been my privilege to inform you on this topic that is so near and dear to my heart. Thank you.